What's up, everybody? Benji Bruce here, sexy beast of speakinglifestyle.com. I get asked this question. Actually, no, I've never been asked this question, but I figured, hey, maybe it is a question people are asking, is should I quote an all-inclusive fee or a fee plus flight, hotel, food, and all the stuff? So it's kind of like, which one should you do, all-inclusive or the fee plus extra stuff? Now, you might think an all-inclusive fee sounds better because the thing is, like, if you think from their perspective, from the event's perspective, they ultimately want to know, like, what are we going to actually pay? Like, what's the end result in terms of what we pay? So when you say all-inclusive, they know, hey, it's $10,000. They know that. But when you say $10,000 plus flight, plus hotel, plus the food, plus this, like they're thinking like, well, how much is that really going to be? So they don't really know. So you would think all-inclusive is better. But I'm going to tell you why I don't do that and why like I stopped doing it. And honestly, it happened accidentally, to be honest, because I was like going back and forth in terms of all-inclusive or what. And so then I just said, no, forget all-inclusive. But there is no right or wrong answer to this. You can do either one, to be honest. But let me tell you, like, here's how I used to do it. So the way I used to do it was I would say, like, okay, the fee is $10,000 plus flight, plus hotel, plus food. And then I would invoice them for the food because they could pay for the flight, they could pay for the hotel, but then I don't know how much I'm going to spend on food. So I would go there, I'd eat stuff, I'd be like, okay, keep the receipts. Then I would say, like, okay, here's how much it all costs for the food. Here's an invoice. And then I got to wait for however long for the invoice. And I would think to myself, like, what the hell, man? You just got paid $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 and now you're waiting for $200 like for the food. What the hell, man? So eventually I just said, well, forget it. I'm like, forget the food. Like, who cares if it's 100, 200? Who cares? Like, I simply don't care anymore. So I stopped doing the food part. I simply said flight. I simply said, here's the fee, flight, and hotel. That's all I did. Just to make it easier on myself. I don't want to invoice them and stuff. So that's what I started doing. Then I switched to an all-inclusive fee for a little bit because I thought to myself, like back in the day when speakers were like, what's your all-inclusive, or speaker bureaus, like what's like an all-inclusive fee? So I switched to an all-inclusive. But one time, this was an event where I was talking to and I said, okay, it's going to be X fee plus flight and hotel. And then they said, like, we were going back and forth because they really wanted me. I could tell they really wanted me. And then they said, but, oh man, it's like more than our budget and all that sort of stuff. And because I was doing so many events, I didn't negotiate at all. I wasn't like, oh, well, sure. What is your budget? All right, I'll decrease. I was just like, yeah, I mean, yeah, the fee's quite a bit. Like that's what I was doing. Like people say, yeah, that's a lot. I'm like, yeah, it is. Should I send the contract to you? So it's like I wasn't trying to negotiate because I was pretty in demand. So what happened though was I said it's going to be X fee plus flight and hotel. And he said, they were like, well, if you can do it just for the fee and you pay your own flight and hotel, then we can for sure do it. And I knew there was going to be like 500 or so people there. So I knew I'd get good footage and all that. So I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, why not? And that's when the light bulb like kind of clicked in my head. That's when I thought to myself, okay, if I do this all the time, that gives me room to negotiate. So if all I do is quote an all-inclusive fee, and that's more than their budget, then I've got nothing to negotiate really in terms of, I can like tack off time. I can say, well, instead of 60 minutes, I'll do 45 minutes. I can tack off time if I want to lower the fee, but I've really got nothing to negotiate there. On the other hand, if I say it's X fee plus flight and hotel, and they say, oh, that's more, I can say, well, if I simply pay for the flight and hotel, can you cover the fee? And like, it's going to be all inclusive. Now it's like, I give them some room to negotiate. And so that's why, like, I think it's better to say it's fee plus flight and hotel instead of all inclusive. So it's just something simple like that. And so on the other hand, if you are doing an international event, if you're traveling from anywhere from one country to another country, you want to, here's what I do. Well, here's my rule now. Back in the day, it was kind of like, yeah, whatever. But now it's more of, all right, so it's going to cost this much. You have to send 100% of the fee, like not a 50% deposit. It's 100% of the fee up front. And the flight has to be business or first class plus hotel. And I did that because I remember the time when I went to Finland and it was, I don't know, 12-hour flight, like whatever. And luckily they just paid for business class. Like I didn't even ask them. They just paid for it. And the whole time I'm flying, I'm like, damn, I'm glad I'm not in coach. I'm glad I'm not in economy, because that long of a flight sitting just like, what's up, man? What's up? Like, that long of a flight, it would have sucked. And so it was that moment when I was like, oh, forget this. Any international event I do, I'm telling them they have to pay for business or first class. Like, hands down, they have to. And so on top of that, you want to get 100% of the fee up front, just because you don't want to deal with international courts and all that sort of stuff. Like, if they don't pay or whatever. Like, I mean, are you really going to sue? Come on now. But even if you do, it's kind of like, there's all this going on between like your country and the other country. So it's very different than if you sue in your country. So it's like, you don't want to have to deal with any of that sort of stuff. So you might as well just say, hey, you got to send me 100% of the money. Plus you got to pay for business class, business or first class. And then you got to pay for the flight. Pay for the hotel. So that's what I do with the international events. And so, that's ultimately what you're doing in terms of fee. Let's see if there was anything else I want to talk about real quick. Oh, yeah. So, wait, what did I say? Okay. 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 Got it. No, I'm just kidding. So here's the thing. If you do an all-inclusive fee, you must get a 50% deposit. Well, no matter what it is you do, you're always getting a 50% deposit in terms of your fee. But with the all-inclusive, so you really need to get this all-inclusive fee, the 50% deposit, as fast as possible. Because remember, you're paying for your flight and hotel. So the longer you wait to pay for that flight, the more it's going to cost you for that flight. So you need to basically tell them, hurry up with my money, son. Hurry up, so I can actually get the flight. That way, instead of like now maybe be $200-300, if I waited, it's going to be $600-700. So you don't want that to happen. So you want them to send you the money as fast as possible so you can pay for the flight. Do not pay for anything until you get the money. Don't pay for flight. Don't pay for anything until you get the money. So what you do is, once everything's agreed upon, you send them the contract. At that point, I mean, this is why it's better to actually accept credit cards nowadays. Because like back in the day, it was just checks and stuff. So you got to wait for it to be in the mail and all that sort of stuff. But nowadays you say, okay, it's going to be this much. Send them an invoice in terms like, accept the payment online. Yeah, you're going to pay your credit card fee, whatever that fee is. But it's better to get the money immediately than for you to wait. And then all of a sudden they back out later on because they didn't send the deposit. So you want to get the money immediately. And so as soon as you agree to it, in terms of like, yeah, it's going to be all inclusive, bam, we need a 50% deposit. Here's the invoice. I need it back by this date. And you emphasize a date. Like, I really need it back by this date. And you tell them like, hey, if we don't have it by this date, then you guys are going to have to pay for the flight. And you tell them that. I've done that before. Only after kind of getting screwed, like I said, in terms of they waited till last minute. And now I had to pay a gang load of money for his freaking flight. But what you do is you emphasize the date, and you don't emphasize it in the beginning. This is kind of like let's say, so let's say they book you $10,000 all inclusive. You say, hey, I need a 50% deposit. I need $5,000. You then invoice them online, PayPal or whatever. You invoice them, and they haven't paid you yet. So it's like, okay, where's my money? Where's my money? And so they haven't paid you yet. Then after a little bit, you send them an email like, hey, so-and-so, I need the deposit by X date because the flights are going to increase. If I don't have it by then you guys are going to have to pay for the flight. And so it's like you say stuff like that. And so that's what you're really doing in terms of your fees. So all inclusive or the fee plus flight and hotel. It's better to say fee plus flight and hotel because you have more room to negotiate and all that sort of stuff. So that's essentially what you really want to do when it comes to your speaking fee. Yeah, son. By the way, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe, like it. If you don't like it, then just go slap your mama or something. But yeah, if you have any questions, make sure you comment, ask some questions. And if it's a good question, I'll make a whole video on it. If it's a bad question, I'll just ignore you, be like, stupid. What a dummy. No, so if you have any questions, either email me at info@speakinglifestyle.com or post in the comment section with a question. And like I said, maybe I'll make a video on it. So subscribe. Thank you. Adios.